I think this happens with every single technology ever.
I know, but
this one is like a little heightened, but like when people are like, society is never going to be able to get through this. Like they said it about the television. They say it about the internet in general. Like the world just keeps on spinning. It's another edition of KFC Radio on the Barstool Sports Network. Once again, flying solo. Jackie and Fights will be back next week, but you're rocking with me, Solo Dolo, once again for about an hour. We're going to start with this dude, Hasan Piker. And then we'll get into the Ayesha Curry comments, talk about AI a little bit, and maybe a little bit of sports. But this Hasan Piker thing is going mega viral on the internet right now this morning as I record this. If you don't know who Hasan Piker is, he is a left-wing political commentator, mostly on... Dude, I have to get a new phone number. Like, I get 50,000 fucking spam calls a goddamn day. Every time it fucking rings.
You just need a new phone also.
Hello? Hey, this is Taylor from Madison Brands. Shut the fuck... Who are these people? I mean, it's constant, dude. I have 51 little missed call, like the little red thing says 51. It's just nothing but numbers that aren't potential spam, potential spam, potential spam. You know what I need? I need to like start my life over. I need a new phone number. I need a new email.
You need a new phone.
I definitely need a new phone. This is a new phone. I got this phone. I just upgraded this, dropped it right away, broken. I need a new email, new phone number, new everything. I wish I'm about to restart all my social media, just start from fucking zero and get a clean slate, because between the algorithm and your data being out there and the calls and the texts, it's just like, get me out of here. I can't do it. I used to be like, I'm not going to change my number. And then I'm like, who fucking cares? I think that's something you think is a big deal. And then you realize, no, it's fucking not. Get a new number. Text the people who you need to talk, saying, hey, here's my new number. You're good to go. Everybody else stops bothering you. It's a fucking great thing. We should all change our number every like 3 years. Just get a clean slate on life. Anyway, Hasan Piker is a left-wing streamer on Twitch. And on one of his latest streams, he was... I think it was October 7th. He was yapping about something, and his dog is in the background. He has this big, I think it looks like a fluffy, almost looks like a chow chow type dog. And it's laying there like quietly. It's almost like part of the scenery in the background. He's yapping about God knows what. And the dog just gets up and starts to like walk away. And you see him be like Kaya or whatever her name is. Like, Kaya, God damn it. His hand reaches over off camera. And then the dog like jumps and yelps, and everybody is pretty much connecting the dots here that they believe he shocked his dog on stream in order to like keep her in the shot, a part of the stream, or laying down quietly. It's hard to say. You can't say anything for certain because his hand is off camera. You don't see him like push a button on a thing. There's no way to necessarily tell why a dog yelps and sat down. It's not like the dog can tell you what happened. But they've dug up old clips of him talking about when he first got the dog. Him and his roommate like got a shock collar, so they know that he has one. There's another clip of him with a guest on his stream where the woman is petting. I think she's a comedian. I'm not sure though. She's petting the dog, and she's like, "Oh, your dog's collar is way too tight. I can't even like get my finger underneath there. Like I think you're choking her." There's enough out there now that people are putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and it looks like this guy shocked his dog. And then he kind of goes on this rant, like the chat is sort of like, yo, like leave your fucking dog alone. And he's like, my mom was dog sitting and let her have run of the house, and now I need to get her back in line. This guy's fucked. There's just like, for the longest time, I've always said there are two things you can't do in America. It's blackface and do bad stuff to dogs. That is what will get the world to turn on you in a heartbeat, and probably way more so the dogs than the blackface, if I'm being honest, which is crazy. So this guy, I'm sure, is going to deny it and, I'm sure do whatever he can to spin this or donate to a dog shelter or whatever it is that he's going to try to make this go away. But in America, you fuck around with dogs, man. That's it. I'm not saying like his career will be over. He'll never be able to earn again. But you'll be known as the dude who electrocutes dogs. Whether that's reasonable or even true or not, I don't know. I'm just telling you that's what's going to stick to this guy for the rest of time now. Because he's not, he's a successful dude. Seems like he has millions of followers, millions of streams, millions of subscribers, millions of dollars. I had never heard of him up until now, which is also the craziest thing about the internet, man. You just realize how big the internet is, how big the world is, and how much money there is to be made in virtually every sector of the internet, every hobby, every avenue, angle, path that can be done. Like the internet has done it. This guy's just talking politics, so it's not like he has some intriguing niche that's interesting that he can make money off of. He's just doing what everybody else does and being a political grifter, basically. But, I'm always astounded when I hear the name a new streamer, a new influencer, TikToker, new rapper, and I'm like, who? What? And then you go check, and it's like, oh, yeah, they've got millions of followers, platinum records, millions of dollars in the bank. I think this guy has like a $3 million house in the Hollywood Hills and drives a Porsche. I'm like, I never even fucking heard of this guy. And I'm sure there are people who have said the same about me and Barstool when we were first coming up. Like, what? Who are these guys? And our fans would always be like, they're way bigger or more influential, more popular than you, dinosaur. So I probably sound like the old man. But it's not even more. It's more just interesting that like I now more so than ever is the best time to do what you love, do what you do. I'm always a little hesitant. Like I always tell Feitelberg that he should make content about going to the gym. He should make content about fashion and clothes and dressing because that's what he does. Something as simple as just like his outfit of the day or like here's the latest trend I like or check out this brand. And working out, he does all day, every day as it is. So it's like just throw the camera on, jump some rope, you'll get some sponsors, whatever. And he's always like, I that's not my work. I don't want to do my work. I want to do those things for enjoyment, and I don't want it to be a part of my career, which I totally understand. But the flip side of that is like if you have something you love, or like you with drawing, right? Like if you have a talent or something that separates you or something that intrigues you, now is the time to just like press record, write a blog. Well, probably not write a blog. Press record. You got to do video. But whether it's, tweets, Instagram, long form, short form, if you just do your thing, it might not happen like overnight, but if you're truly passionate about something and it actually like intrigues you to the point that you live it, breathe it, know it inside and out, if you do it long enough, you'll have an audience, you'll have a following. I'm not saying it could be your career. I'm not even saying necessarily you will make money off of it, but that sort of authenticity when you really do something. Like I'm always trying to figure out what's next, and I think that's a good approach as well. But if you have something that you really, is your passion or calling, that comes through. That authenticity and that like genuine care for it always comes through. It might take a long time. It might take years. You might not, your ceiling might be a little lower than others based on what you do, but it's the best time like ever to just, and you know what the real difference is too? It's everybody who tries to do this hits like this ceiling probably, let's say, a few months in or whatever. Probably for a lot of people, even like a few weeks in. And it's the people who push through that I think end up making it or establishing themselves as something that's, more than just a hobby. It could become a side gig or, God willing, if you're lucky, like a career. The amount of people who I think do try all this, we joke about like there should be a tariff on podcast equipment because everybody buys a mic and a camera and starts a podcast. And everybody can, hop on their social media and do a green screen video like me or whatever it is, these low barrier, or write a blog, right? But the amount of people that do that and expect it to be like, okay, I've done it for a week. Am I famous now? Am I rich now? And give up, I would imagine is like 99.9%. And I bet you the amount of time that it takes for them to give up is legitimately like a matter of like a couple weeks. The amount of people that I've told over the years, specifically back when we were still writing and it was a website and a blog, people who would be like, how do I work for Barstool? And I'd be like, just pretend you have the job. Just do the job. Just start the job. you won't have the same followers or feedback or readers. I'm sorry. You won't get the same amount of page views. You won't get all the hits. You won't have all the comments or the shares. But like, you can just pretend you're doing the job, and that's kind of your resume. That's your showcase. And people would be like, I desperately want this so bad. I'm like, okay, here you go. Like, start it up, and I'll keep checking in on it, and we'll see how you do. 2 weeks go by, and they're like, hey, I wrote like 10 blogs. Like, am I good to go? Am I in? Am I hired? Am I rich? Am I famous? Like, no, not even close. You got to do this probably for like 2 to 3 more years before anything happens. And so that's where the people, if it's something that you are going to be doing every day in your regular life as is, you're going to do it anyway. So it doesn't matter if it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You might catch lightning in a bottle and it's a matter of months, but ordinarily it takes time and it's a grind. And if you're doing it just to try to get famous or just hoping you're going to have a career, you probably end up flaming out or, getting frustrated with like, why isn't it working as fast as I want it to work? Whereas the people who just like doing it, doesn't really matter like how successful it is off the bat or if it's monetized or how many people are watching it. Back in the day, I remember, I would like check the stats of my original website, but more so just for like, I never made any money off of it. It wasn't like I got to get these numbers to give them to sponsors or to flex or whatever. It was more just like looking at numbers and be like, oh, is it going up? Is it going down? Am I doing something right? Oh, we had a big day. Oh, somebody shared this and I saw a correlation in spikes. So like just trying to get the lay of the land. But it would be like 600 people, on a good day. I remember Large's old website before Large worked for Barstool. Large had a website called takeareport.com. It was a Wall Street finance blog. That was when I first, basically Large is like kind of Large plus Barstool together is like what got me into blogging. One of the best writers ever, such a New York like finance guy. So it was very relatable for me. And I loved it. And anyway, he took a vacation once, and the guy who runs their website, sort of like his producer and admin, he went by the name Admin, was like, Large is going to be away for a week. We got to keep the lights on here. We got to keep the page views up. So we're looking for like guest bloggers and guest spots. And a post I had put up on my site, they also posted on their site. So I didn't write for their blog, but I wrote something, and they were like, can we publish this over here? And anyway, when that went up on Take a Report, like a few thousand people came over to my website for the day. And it was like I hit Powerball, bro. Going from like 600 readers to, 3,000 was like, oh my God, I'm famous. And you know what is funny? Things have gotten so skewed now. When you hear some of these numbers, Kai Cenat has like 100 million subscribers or whatever the fuck it is. Everyone's rich. I was at an industry event last night. I'll talk more about it in a little bit. But I was talking to some people who do business with some of the big streamers, and they were saying that like some of them will have like a $1 million deal that they are just like not signing. Like, never mind, I changed my mind. Or like the paperwork is here. All I need you to do is like put your name on it and it's official. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. I'll get to it later. Maybe, maybe not. And the salespeople were telling me like, dude, that's like a $100,000 commission for me that I'm just waiting to get. And these streamers are just like, whatever. My point being that the numbers and the fame and the fortune have gotten so crazy that everyone is sort of skewed. But back when I was first doing it, followers and subscribers and those type of numbers were so not even a thing that I was thinking like, damn, like 600 people read this blog today. And I was so jacked up about it. I was doing the thing. I was like, if you put 600 people in a room and they all were like, hey, we read that thing that you wrote and we really like it, I'd be like, this is an army of people who love my work. So it was cool to like back then to not be as jaded and skeptical and whatever of some cynical of some of these numbers. But anyway, my point was that I was doing that for like 600 people, never made $1. I was on Google AdSense, and they would send me a check for like $1.18 like every month, whatever, But I loved doing it, so I just kept doing it. I got lucky in the sense that after about 9 months, I think it was when Dave was looking for somebody for Barstool. So I can't even say, I did it for years, but I did it every day, all day for 9 months. And it ended up leading to something. So it's not going to be a couple weeks. It's going to be a long-term thing. And once, if you can get through that, then there's all these niches and all these avenues of like, I always look to how much nerd culture became like the industry between the Marvel movies and comic books and Game of Thrones and all the Comic-Cons and all that sort of stuff. Shit that typically in the past would have been considered like nerdy or lame now like took over the world. And it's because I genuinely think a lot of it is all of those people could connect on the internet. And it's like, yeah, again, stereotypically you're in high school and you're like the nerd and you get bullied for it. And you don't have anybody like connect with except for you and a couple friends. But all those people hop on the internet and they find everybody else who's been bullied or called a nerd or, people don't think it's cool. All those people connect. It becomes its own industry. And so you can do it with absolutely anything. Again, this guy, Hasan Piker, to go back to him, is not doing anything niche. But again, it's just crazy that a guy, I'm pretty chronically online myself, although as I'm getting older, I'm like a little bit less plugged in. Never heard of this guy, monster big, and now will have like the fight of his life on his hands because you just can't be a piece of shit with dogs. You can be a piece of shit with people and get away with it way easier than being a piece of shit with dogs. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm sure people have their opinions on it. I think that we've gotten a little bit out of control with dog culture. Dogs, cool. Dog people gets a little. You know what it is? The problem I have with dog stuff is the same problems I have with youth sports. It ain't the dogs and it ain't the kids. It's the adult humans in each of those realms that make this shit unbearable. I love dogs. Dogs are great. I don't need, it doesn't define who I am as a person and run my life. And I don't think they should be in every public setting and just run society the way it does now. Like dogs run society. And and if you say anything against that, you're almost like the Scarlet Letter pariah as well.
You know how people say Trump could do anything and people would still support him. Do you think if he was on video hurting a dog?
That would be the ultimate test, wouldn't it? That would be it. I'm sure his diehard followers would, be like, I'm going to go kill my dog too. Oh, if Trump says so. But that would be, but I honestly, as for all of Trump's shortcomings or all the things people may hate about him, he's not a dumb guy. Might be uneducated to this point that he can't give a presidential speech, but he's not dumb. I think even if he hated dogs, he'd be like, if there's a camera and there's a dog, who's your puppy? Who's your dog? He's just too smart of a businessman to get caught slipping like that. This guy, Hasan, also was so just defiantly. I think what it is about why people get bent out of shape about the dogs is humans are also kind of shitty. So if you beat up a human or you're fighting a human, as long as you're not it's not a kid or a female or it's a serious power imbalance where it's you're just being a piece of shit bully. But if it's human on human crime, it's almost always there's two sides to this story, right? Every time I do Mark Sanchez, right? I did a video about Mark Sanchez. Oh my God, get well soon. The Sanchez, please don't die. Jets fans love you. 2 minutes later, oh wait, no. You're the piece of shit who was attacking and beating up and physically disfiguring and maiming an old man. And it was yeah, you know what? This whole story sucks. This guy stabbing you. You're the asshole who instigated it. When it's dogs, though, 99.9% of the time, that dog's awesome. That dog's just chilling. And so when you abuse your dog or treat it poorly or even you're a little too harsh with it, people don't fuck with that because it does feel, it's almost it feels like a little baby. It's the equivalent of fucking with a little kid. Mike Vick was obviously the biggest example of it. And I always wonder if Michael Vick and the dog stuff happened now, would it be better or worse? And I don't know. I go back and forth because on the one hand, it would just be bigger, more people, more exposure. there's just that many more people on social media and in the news. And so it would have been exposed on a much grander scale. On the other side of things, though, there's more than ever, like, bad behavior almost is like a good thing. You get caught saying the N-word and your business goes up. You speak out and say some shitty stuff, but like it aligns with people politically or ideology wise, and so they back you. The anti-cancel culture back and forth that we always do. You cancel me. No, I'm not. I don't, we don't cancel. And both sides have been hypocritical of that. But I just feel like there might have been maybe more defending him as well. I think it would have just been heightened. I think there would be more people and more hate, but there also would have been more people maybe defending him or just saying like the punishment doesn't fit the crime or whatever it may be. So, this isn't quite there. It was not dog fighting and killing dogs and electrocute. Well, I guess it was shocking dogs. I think Michael Vick was like straight up, him and his people were like straight up electrocuting them. This is a shock collar, which the other thing is like these are a tool that many, many people use, many dog owners use. I remember, I think I had one that I used with Duncan early on when he would eat all of Shay's pacifiers and got to the point where he was like, if she had it in her hands or in her mouth, you could see that he was like trying to get it. And I was like, this is absolutely how I'm going to have a dog bite my baby's face by accident. And I've, got a Sophie's Choice situation here that I never want to deal with. So I got like a little shock collar. I put it on myself. I shocked myself first to understand what it was. And it was just like a buzz. It was like you probably could have ramped it up, but I just used it to be like a zzz. And it was almost more of the same thing that they use for like a clicker or, if you whack them on the nose with like a newspaper or something like that. And I remember doing that. And I didn't think, I remember not like loving it. And I think we did it for like, a day or two, but it worked. Like as soon as he was going after a pacifier, he would just kind of avoid it. But it was, there was never to the point that he was like yelping or crying or anything like that. We had talked to a dog trainer who like, I guess in hindsight, if a dog trainer was just like, yeah, use a shock collar, I probably should have been like, you're not that good of a dog trainer. But whatever. My point being that it felt like it was not this like inhumane, heinous thing to do. But it was also not just like, I'm doing this so you stay put and you're on camera in my stream. And it was not, cranked up to the point that it was making a dog yelp or like lay down in fear. That's going to be a tough one for Hasan Piker. And I judging by the very little I've seen of him, where he's just kind of one of these like inflammatory political commentators, he does not seem like the apology type. He does not seem like he's going to be very conciliatory on this one and just be like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, and I'm going to try to be better. I'm sure he'll dig his heels in or deny it or fight it, but it's tough when it's just blatantly on camera like that. And even if it's not super blatant, it's because, again, like I said, you can't like in a court of law prove this, but it's, in common sense wise. So whether sponsors or businesses actually harmed, because, it's probably pretty tough to be like, this is all based on conjecture and hearsay and circumstantial evidence and all that stuff. But I think the general public people are going to be like, yeah, man, oh yeah, you're that piece of shit dog guy. It's not a great reputation you want following you around. BlueChew. It is not just a tablet. It is a cheat code for you and your sex life to make sure that you're happy, satisfied, your partner's satisfied, physically you're doing good, mentally you're doing good, you're getting your rocks off, and everyone's enjoying themselves. That's what BlueChew is. It's not just a tablet. It's all of that combined into one medication, easy to chew, tastes good, makes your dick hard, makes you last longer. What else could you want in life? BlueChew has you covered. They're the original brand offering the chewable tablets for better sex, and it's not a supplement. It's the erection resurrection. He has risen. That's what BlueChew will do for you. It's something where you're going to make her happy. She's going to be talking about you in the group chat. She'll be talking about how long you lasted, how big it was, all the things. She'll be giving you the Taylor Swift treatment. She'll be talking about your wood. She'll write a song about you. She'll make an album about you that people will lose their minds over because your BlueChew is just taking your game to the next level. Nothing makes you more of a legend than BlueChew. And right now at BlueChew, you can get your first month for free when you go to BlueChew.com and use promo code KFC at checkout. You pay $5 for the shipping, and that's it. The rest of it, you get a month of medication, a month of BlueChew when you use that promo code KFC. It's Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. So head to BlueChew.com for details and safety info. Use promo code KFC at checkout for the first month free. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the Hasan Piker dog story. But it is funny how much that picks up steam. Like, that's a guy that relatively people don't know, but they know that he's enough of a name to, like, let's go after him for fucking with dogs. Once PETA gets involved, once Dave's gonna, hate this guy, like some big names of dog people, it's gonna get ugly for him. It's also getting ugly for Ayesha Curry right now. Ayesha Curry Steph Curry's wife, went on Call Her Daddy and had a quote that in a vacuum I think is really not that big of a deal. We'll play the clip. But Ayesha basically said, I never planned on being like the stay-at-home mom. And I think she went as far to say she never planned on having kids. And she had these career aspirations and all these goals. And that's not the path her life took. I haven't listened to the whole rest of the interview. I'm wondering if there's a point where she clarifies, like, and now I'm as happy as can be. I don't think there is that point because I feel like that would be on clips as well, and I feel like there'd be people defending her being like, well, did you finish the next 10 seconds where she says, and it's the greatest blessing of all time, wow, I was wrong, I can't imagine had I not done this, it's the happy mistake or the happy accident, or like when it's not your plan but everything falls into place. The problem is it's not in a vacuum, and it's like Ayesha Curry has over the last several years made comments and done things that just people perceive as like disrespect to Steph Curry and kind of like signaling that like she's not happy. And this goes back to what I was saying last episode with Taylor Swift stuff. Like, a lot of people are creating fan fiction in their head. Like, we do not know that couple. You do not know who they are, what they do. I feel like Steph and Ayesha went from like goals to the pendulum swung the other way, and people now kind of characterize her as this like disrespectful towards Steph Curry, don't need to say everything out loud type of wife. I don't know enough about it to really say one way or the other. I don't think anybody does other than Steph Curry and Ayesha Curry. But I will say that there's enough examples here and there, little silly things here and there. But when you add them all up, it starts to be like, I can kind of see where people think there's a pattern. For instance, she was on like The View or some shit. I don't know who it was. She was on some show, and there was like a hot guy who came out, a guy who could dance or just like had his shirt off or something like that. All the girls are going wild, and Ayesha Curry like pretends to take her wedding ring off. Harmless joke. I don't think Steph Curry or really any even remotely secure man would care about that. But it's like that one, and then this comment, and then that comment, and I can't even give you the specifics of them because they're really not that big of a deal, and I don't know all the history. But I know that there's enough out there where people go like, God damn, Ayesha Curry said something again. Like, Ayesha still out here, talking about Steph and her family. It's that sort of vibe. And this one was as like kind of as blunt as it gets. At least again, the clip I heard, there was no qualifier or disclaimer. It was sort of just, I never really wanted to have kids, and now I have a bunch of them. My only problem with that is she was like, she kind of characterized it as like, I was this career woman and I had this dream and this passion and this project that, she was like, had a lot of balls in the air. She was juggling, a lot of irons in the fire. Like, she was doing this, that, and the third. I think she was like 23 when they got married, or like were at least together. And not to say that you can't be, making moves when you're in your early 20s, but it comes across as like, I was the CEO of this company that I'd been with for 20 years, and I had to give everything up for him and my kids. It's like, I think you had when you say you have plans, it's much different than like you have dreams. Everybody, when they're in your early 20s, has dreams of being like the CEO. But if you then settle down and get married, I don't know if it's exactly fair to characterize it as like this marriage and these kids like derailed my career. It's just like, yeah, your dream, your very generic dream that everyone has of being the most successful person in the world, your life didn't go that way. It's like I had a dream of being a professional athlete. I don't think you could be like, oh, it ruined my plans because I became an accountant. It was just like, yeah, that was not going to be. It's a little different because you're making a choice. You're choosing to do it. She didn't have to do it. She does go on to say that like they had their first daughter so quickly after they got married that it felt like it almost just kind of got away from her. That I can understand. I sort of went through that myself. Obviously, very different for men and women. But we had Shay. I got married in October, and I think she was pregnant by like April, I want to say, if I'm doing the math right. I don't know. But it was, only a matter of months. And, it just, as much as moving in with someone, proposing, and then getting married changes your life. It's all, at this stage of the game, pretty much formalities. It's like if you're living together and dating someone for several years, you're pretty much married. I do warn against people who say like, I'm already married. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are in a very serious relationship. You are living together. You're cohabitating. You are around each other 24/7. You are still not married, and you don't know what like true married life is going to be. The ring on the finger changes things, and then you go through the wedding planning, which can be stressful, and the wedding itself, and it's just different. It's not, I'm not saying that it's not something you're prepared for, or it's going to be so radically different that, you can't believe it, but it just is different. It's sort of like when people are like, oh, I have a pet. I know what it's like to be a parent. No, the fuck you do not. You know what it's like more than the average single person. You know what it's like to have to wake up early or go out late and do, walk your dog, take care of your dog, your pet. It's one step further of being selfless and having to do something for another living creature. You are not a parent. You can call yourself a dog, dad, or mom as like a joke. But anybody who really thinks that those two things are comparable probably has never had a kid or has never even given it a single thought. You can go away and leave your dog alone for a weekend, like 72 hours. And you'll come home and, maybe the dog's hungry, thirsty, your house is torn apart, there's shit and piss on the floor. It was a disaster. But that's about it. You go away and leave your baby for 72 hours, you're going to jail for murder, bro. Like, that baby is dead and your life is over. There's a very big difference between the two. And so that's, I'm kind of applying that logic to what Ayesha Curry said about her dreams and her career versus what she ended up with. It also kind of comes across a little bit tone deaf when it's like, oh no, instead of your career, you married a gajillionaire who is, by all accounts, like one of the most stand-up, great guys, and you have a few beautiful kids, and you're living a life where you want for nothing and have no concerns that the average person does. That's not to say I very much understand the idea of more money, more problems. I very much understand that money is not the cure for everything, and it's not going to give you happiness. So I can understand if you're a woman or anybody who feels like I wanted to do something else, but this marriage and kids took that away or stopped me from doing it, you're going to feel a way about that. And that sucks because you probably feel resentful towards the person you love and the kids that you made. And ultimately, hopefully, you still deep down love them. I think you can have moments where you're like, I love these people unconditionally, but like, there's also this part of me, you lose a part of your independence, or you lose some of your freedom, and you lose your ability to do things that you want to do or achieve. So I get it. It's a delicate, nuanced thing that you got to figure out. But I would just say that usually that's something you should do kind of internally.
Also, if there's anyone that could do both, it's probably her. Like,
if
there's anyone that could have the kids and be married and do her career aspirations, it's probably someone with a boatload of money.
A boatload of money,
like,
you have all the nannies,
get a
and
nanny and go start a
need
company or whatever
to take care of it. I mean, I definitely know that there's instances of women who give up, their career or stop going to school and take care of their kids. And that takes a long time, when you, especially if you space them out, you got to raise your kids from 0 to 18, and really, let's be honest, it's like 0 to infinity these days. It's definitely like 0 to 30. Like you're still taking care of your kids at 30 at this point, whether it's like literally money and housing or just like you're still parenting them. And I know there are instances where it's like, okay, my kids are grown now, or at the very least, like they're in school, they can drive themselves, they can handle their own schedules, they're just like their own humans, and I'm just there to make sure that they're like okay and don't die, and now I have free time on my hands. But the problem is you just spent the last 15 years not honing your skills, learning your industry, keeping up with the times, the technology, the changes. So now it's like, okay, now you do have the time or ability to do it, and you're no longer qualified or able to, or, you're just like a dinosaur. I don't think that applies to Ayesha Curry, though. I think you're right. Like, she's still young enough. She has all the resources, all the support. She has stardom and fame. And I think I believe she's done like cookbooks and all that. It's not like she's just like sitting at home in the kitchen.
Yeah. Also, like, call me crazy. I feel like she would have an easier time following her dreams than a poor bitch with poor woman. I don't know why I said that like that. A poor woman with no kids or husband.
Totally. There is something though about, like, I remember this has been the theme of my like entire life for the last 15 years is the work-life balance. 6-7. The other day, an umpire, they're playing the baseball game, and the guy bobbled the ball, and the umpire was calling him safe, and he went like this, and everyone was like, 6-7. Can a home security system really call itself security if it only responds to something once the burglary or the bad thing has happened? No. That's like a home cleanup system. You want something that keeps you secure. And that's what SimpliSafe does. It can stop the crime before it happens. They have AI-powered cameras that detect threats while they're still outside your house and let you know that there's something going on. It will alert the real security agents that then will take care of the situation. It's a game changer. They will stop the intruder while they're still outside. They will confront the intruder with the security system, let them know that they're being watched and they're on camera and that the police are on their way. It sends off a loud siren. It has spotlights, so it scares whoever's trying to get into your house to make sure they get the hell out of there before the police come and before anything bad happens. That's literally the definition of stopping crime before it starts. Other systems they'll have cameras that let you know the intruder is in your house. It's too late, and you can't do anything about it. This will stop them, alert you, alert the authorities, and keep you safe. I am in the process of doing my whole home renovation. I am in the process of getting my SimpliSafe all upgraded to make sure that I keep everything secure after I pay for all this money and go through all this work to make sure it's the perfect house. I want to keep it that way. So I'm using SimpliSafe, and you should too. It's SimpliSafe.com/KFC Radio. You can save 50% on a home security system. That's SimpliSafe, SIMPLI, safe.com/KFC Radio for 50% off. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. The work-life balance has been like the number one thing for me, and I think a lot of people. I think at the end of the day, you can, if you want to be like if you want to speak in general terms and be like very reductive, that's everyone's life. Is like everyone has to have a job, and you have your personal life, and that's within those things, there's a billion other little specifics and nuances, but like the general idea is you wake up every day and you have to live your life and you have to live your professional life, and how do you balance those things? And I found that without fail, every time, if I was doing well at work, home was suffering, and if I did great at home, work was suffering. And that's probably a very universal experience for a lot of people, but it was pretty stark for me, where it was like traveling for work, doing some of the things we did at Barstool with parties and girls and the jokes I make and the travel we do, the places we go, how often we're gone, getting into the world of like being recognized and being quote unquote famous, or having, be in the public eye. All those things for me were a very big strain on home life. And it led to fights, and it led to uncomfortability. And, there were things I wanted to be supported in, and I wasn't getting that. And then there were things that I did that upset her. And it just felt like I had to pick between the two. And then vice versa is like when I would, be more present at home, would miss an event, wouldn't watch the game, wouldn't go to the thing, whatever it is, and everyone at home was happy, Dave would be like, Couch Clancy over there, like, he's not working hard. And it just, that feeling of like you just can't win. I remember, this one sticks with me like so fucking much. It's like one of the biggest regrets of my life. It was when the Super Bowl was in San Francisco, and I've told the story before. If you're one of the diehard listeners, I think I'm out of stories. I don't know. You've heard them all. But we were going to the Super Bowl like we always did. But this was early enough that I think we were kind of establishing the tradition, the ritual of like Barstool goes to the Super Bowl every year. And I think it was in San Francisco that year. And we were all flying out on like the Saturday before, whatever it was. And there was a blizzard. And leading up to it, me being away for the Super Bowl was going to be a fight in my relationship. It was like every time I had to travel, it was a problem. It was sort of like the silent treatment leading up to it. And then when I was there and wanted to be like excited and working, I was kind of like fighting a battle at home and texting and trying to apologize and like all that sort of shit. And so every time I did that, it just kind of got worse and worse and worse. And the Super Bowl was like our biggest, longest trip. There was a blizzard and our flights got canceled. And I should have just like scheduled a flight for the next day and gone out there and went to work. But it was sort of at that point, I was sort of like, this is like kind of convenient. Like now I don't have to go. I'm not going to fight at home. Dave was sort of like, are you coming or not? And I think we ended up doing like Skype. At that time it was Skype and Google Hangouts. So we did the rundown like that way. And I think Dan ended up going out late and like they, Dan and Dave did their thing together at the Super Bowl and I wasn't there. So it was like a missed opportunity for me at work. And while it made things like copacetic for the week, like there was no beef for that Super Bowl week where I would have been fighting, it was like, it stuck with me all these years later where I was like, that was so fucking stupid. That was so like lame of me and just immature of me and weak and stupid and all that. And in the long run, like that specific trip didn't end up being that harmful. But I'm sure there was little things like that along the way a bunch of times where it was like, oh, he's not doing this or not doing that. And then that's how, Dan and Dave have always kind of been in lockstep with gambling and sports and stuff. But I don't know, maybe had I been going to more of those things, like that trio the dynamic would have been different. I don't know. But it's in my head of like, I know when I made the choice to do home over work. And I know when I made the opposite. And I ultimately feel like, you have to work. In life, you have to work. You shouldn't be a workaholic, but you have to work. You have to earn, especially as a man. If you want to talk about traditional gender roles and like expectations, you have to work, and that has to be like on point because it's hard to you have to make money. You have to pay the bills. You have to feel fulfilled. You have to have opportunity. You have to have a long-term plan. Like, okay, I can do this until my kids are of age and I don't need to worry about them anymore. That shit, it's almost got to come first. And I feel like you have to find the relationship that allows you to do that.
There's something to be said, though, for like having separate work and personal life. Because I feel like at Barstool especially, some people don't have separate. So like, I think it's good when you can recognize separate. Like that's a pretty good spot to be in.
That's another thing you almost like have to do. Like you can get away with it for a while, but I think in the long run, if you mix personal and business too much. Barstool is a very big they do that, like that's a big part of Barstool for two reasons. One, everybody's young, or at least they were young, and in general we keep infusing youth into it, which means you're going out, you're socializing, you're partying, all that shit. And two, it's a lot of like transplants coming. When we all moved to New York, it was mostly a lot of Boston people coming down to New York. It was Dan came from Chicago, Nate came from Baltimore, all these people coming from their hometowns to New York, and now they don't know anybody, they don't have any family, they don't have any friends here. So the easiest thing to do is just be like, oh, me and all the other 20-somethings that just moved here, we're in the same boat, we're going through the same life experience, we have the same schedules. All that shit is very conducive to just like, let's go grab a beer, let's go out to dinner. Do you want to live together? The people who live together, that's a bad idea. But that was also like when I was at Deloitte, it was sort of the same thing. Barstool is a hyper version of that because it's all of those things kind of on steroids. But when I worked at Deloitte, they did like crops, like classes of new hires. So like I had my class the same way you'd be like a freshman, sophomore, or junior. Like it was me and like 10 people. And then next year there was like another new 10. At that point, we hit the recession, so there was like a hiring freeze. So it wasn't just like endlessly new people, but there was a couple crops of people all within the same ages, and it was very easy for like a couple of the girls to be like, "Do you want to be roommates?" You're in the same like money bracket, so you can afford like the same amount of stuff. You're gonna be on the same schedule, like I said, but almost without fail, those people get together because they're like best of friends at work. And I watch so many of them start to butt heads and fight because you're around them. You're commuting together. You're working together. You go home together.
I love, like, I just moved in with two girls that I barely know. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I say what's up. And then I'm like by myself in my apartment. And it's so nice taking the train by myself. Like, yeah.
The commute is the real problem. Like,
I can see, if I had to get on the subway with someone, they'd probably walk too slow and piss me off.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to get annoyed in that.
Just a time for yourself. Like, I never lived with anybody from work, but we all lived in Hoboken. We came from New Jersey, same trains and stuff. And if I was walking to or from work and I would like bump into a friend, I'd be like, see you later. Like, I'm going to go, like, but it was cool. They would get it too. Like, cool. I'll see you in like 10 minutes when we're back at work. We don't need to do this extra little ride here together. Those things just end up really not working. But, and then, so I was dealing with that like so much, not only in marriage, but also in parenthood. And then when I got divorced, the like freedom I felt to do content the way I really wanted it to do it was amazing, but also kind of like depressing, where I was like, fuck, I really did, like the last few years, I really was not giving it my all. And, like I said, you don't want to be a workaholic. So there's a difference between like giving it your all and making a serious run at it versus like you're unhealthily doing this too much, focusing on this too much. So you got to find that balance. But there was definitely a part of me that, 1 Minute Man is like the biggest thing I've ever done. And that is a type of thing where when news breaks or when I first see a story, I do it. Whether it's here or at home, whether it's morning or night, weekends, weekdays, holidays, whatever, I just go. And it was probably a lot of my own shortcomings. Like, I felt like I couldn't do that. It's really, I don't think through anybody's fault. And if there is any fault, it's really probably my own of like, you create your own work-life environment, So I felt as if like, oh my God, if I after a long day of work, now I'm going to go work more, or I'm going to interrupt whatever we're doing, or, hey, we can't go do that because I got to watch the game, or whatever it is. There was a lot of that. Trust me. Don't get me wrong. Like, that was always kind of something everyone in all of our families had to understand. I did do that a lot. I wouldn't have gotten here if I didn't. But there was a lot more, once I was doing that, it was like, it just all felt like a weight off my shoulders where it's like, I'm not doing anything wrong anymore. I'm not, there's not these expectations to behave a certain way. It's just like, this is, and so I often think like this job is almost, I view it the same way I view like athletes. Like, I always say athletes should just stay single for your career. Get married when you're done, because nowadays getting married at like 35 is totally normal, especially for a dude. Age gaps are like, make sense in that world. And it's not like you're getting married at like 55. You're getting married at a normal time, have pretty much a regular life, maybe a little bit later than the average person, because you were focusing on your professional sports career for your 20s and like half of your 30s. These days, the latest you're going to be is 40. So why not just wait and do it then? And I think of Barstool almost in the same way. It's obviously not as high profile or as important or as lucrative, but it's the same idea of like performing, and you're not on anybody else's schedule, and like you do what you do unencumbered, sort of. I believe I think that's the way to do it. If you really have a career goal, and you're not just talking like, I have a job and I want to rise the ranks. Like, everyone does that. But it's like, if you have a trade that you're doing, like, I went to medical school, I want to become a doctor, I'm going to do that. You're paying all this money, you're giving up so much of your life to study. And then if you're trying to juggle a relationship while you're doing like your residency or whatever, and it's like, I need to go after this because this is my goal and this is what I put so much time and effort into. And stuff that gets in the way of that, you might end up resenting it. You might end up having a problem with it. Obviously, the best case scenario is that perfect work-life balance. You find someone who supports you and is like, go to work for 36 hours a day. I don't care. I love you. I'll see you at home. When we're together, we're together. When we're not, it's okay. All that would be great. It's just not the most realistic. And so if you can't find that perfect fit, I think it's better to stay single while you're going after that dream. Like I said, if it's a trade, if it's an opportunity. Like I think what I should have done, I was very hell-bent on living a quote-unquote normal life. So I was like, I'm going to get married when people get married. I'm going to have kids when people have kids. I'm going to do stuff that regular married people do. And I think I should have just been like, I'm not living a normal life. I'm not going a regular path. I'm not saying that I'm like some entertainer or some, extremely rare and unique thing. But it is different than your average like 9 to 5. And trying to pretend it wasn't and trying to like wedge normalcy into a situation that's not normal was not really a successful idea. And it's not like, when I say not normal, it's not good or bad. It's just different. It's just not normal. It's the same thing as if you're not, it's not, fame and fortune, but it's like if you work at night or weekends, if you work in the sports industry, I'm a broadcaster. You're never going to be around at night. You're never going to be around on the holidays. Like that's just how it goes. And it's better to like accept that and either find someone who accepts it or be like, if you can't, and I can't find someone who does, I'm just not going to do that right now. So I felt like, once I started doing all that, I was like, oh man, this is what I should have been doing this whole time. And then the goal, then I was kind of like all work all the time. And then you start to be like, oh, I want some of the romantic life or the personal life or the social life or whatever the other side of that coin is for you. So, I mean, just like anything else in life, it's all in moderation. But to bring it back to Ayesha, yeah, like whatever goal she wanted, whatever career she wanted, I'm pretty sure she could still have it and do it right now. And I just, some of it's not fair. I don't think, like I said, to characterize them as like unhappy or she's a bad wife or whatever. But I think if it reaches a point where it can become a thing that people are latching onto, there's enough people out there who have seen enough clips or quotes or whatever that they're like, yeah, this is a little fucked up. Then it kind of feels like you're probably going down a path that's like disrespectful or unnecessary or...
How did Alex Cooper respond when she said it? She just like, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, again, I should have probably listened to more of it and just the clip, but it was more like Ayesha just kind of spitting solo.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then to go back to like, I think specifically she was saying we had a daughter so fast. And I think that's a big thing too. Like we thought that there might've been problems with conception. So we were like, we got to get started to see, like I was already like saving money for, potentially IVF or adoption or whatever path we were going to have to go down because I thought there was going to be problems. We all did. And then there just wasn't. So initially it was sort of like, let's try. And then, if it doesn't work, then we, go to plan B. But we got to see if plan A works. And plan A worked really like right away, like literally right away, one shot. So it was like, okay, talk about pivoting. Like you were going on this path and you're thinking like, all right, down the road on that path, we're going to go this way. And, so in my head, I start thinking about how much time and how much money and just making a plan. And then all of a sudden it goes that way immediately, and it's going to change the dynamic of your relationship. And so if she was already maybe feeling like, I sympathize where it's like, if you have goals and you think you're about to set out and do them, and then you meet somebody like Steph Curry, who unfortunately for her, like his goals and his opportunity and his career is a very, very special one. So it kind of takes precedence in a way. So you give up a little bit of that. But you're probably thinking, all right, now we stay married. We live as like a young couple together. We travel, we explore, we experience. I can do this thing over here. And then whether they plan to, unplanned, however it happens, you're pregnant and you're just like, okay, now, especially as a female, now that's just your life. Physically, emotionally, mentally, literally, figuratively, all of it is now just your life. And if you're not like rock solid or when that happens, it's only going to kind of like exacerbate things and and probably make things worse. Like I definitely feel like, at least in my case, it was like coming out of the wedding, I remember being like, there's some things I think we got to work on or address, at least from my point of view, some things that I was feeling. And then that just kind of goes out the window because it's like time to worry and focus on this kid. And I feel like if you don't have enough time to live with your person as a married couple, but not parents, like that, you almost skip that whole thing. It's like you're living together. Like I said, people kind of feel like that's your time where you're living together as a couple without kids. But again, you're not married. It's just different. I just feel like you should do everything kind of long enough where you know. So it's like we dated long enough that we're cool. We move in together. All right, we did living together enough that I know it works. Now we can get married. Now let's live and enjoy each other as a married couple long enough to then be like, it's time to go into parenting, you know? When you kind of rush through it, I think that's how you end up. Even if you're wealthy, successful, have the opportunity, whatever, yeah, you know, those opportunities can slip through your hands if all of a sudden you rush into family life, because you just can't really undo that. So yeah, it's a very, I think what goes on with Steph and Ayesha is very similar to the Taylor stuff, where people are speculating and creating scenarios in their head, or they're projecting their own problems and insecurities, or they just don't like Steph Curry because they are a fan of another team, or they don't like Ayesha Curry because they are a diehard Steph fan and they think that she is bad to Steph. Whatever it is, I think them specifically, some of this stuff is crazy and bullshit, but I think what she's talking about and going through is a very like real and universal feeling for a lot of people in general, but then specifically women who have to like decide between career and family. And then, I mean, if you're lucky enough to find the person and the situation where you can do your job wholeheartedly 100% and feel like you're doing well at home, like that's the dream. I don't know if there's any situation where you can do like 100% each, but I think the dream is like, because there's just not enough time in the day and not enough. It's just not possible to be like the best in your field, but also the best, most present dad. You can do it if you're fucking Superman, but otherwise you're going to have to make concessions. And sometimes I wonder, is it like, should you do both at this level, or should it be like when I'm on work mode, I go 100% and I'm not there for you, and we haven't talked on the phone, or what, I didn't see them. I left before they were awake. I got home after they were asleep, the kids, and then the weekend hits or the season of sports ends or whatever it is you do, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to go 100% family, and work takes the back burner. I don't know what the best is. I feel like moderation is always key, so probably doing both to a healthy level is the right idea. But sometimes I wonder if it's like, go hard, be do everything you can professionally, to the point that at home it's like you got to handle that, and then you switch back. I don't know. SAXX is the original pouch underwear. It has changed the game since 2006 with their ballpark pouch technology. They're the 20 years of making sure that the dick and balls are supported and comfortable with underwear that doesn't ride up. The waistband is soft. The material's soft. It's performance gear. You're not sweating. You're not hotting. You're not chafing. You're not adjusting and grabbing. It's just comfort. You put on and you set it and you forget about it. I'll be honest with you. I'm not wearing my SAXX today because I ran out. It's laundry day. All my SAXX are dirty. I'm wearing like my least favorite pair, and it ruined my day. And I can't wait to get SAXX up the next day where I'll perform better and be happier and more comfortable, because SAXX is the most comfortable underwear in the game. Once you try SAXX, you'll never go back, and you'll realize just how bad your other underwear was. So upgrade your drawers and upgrade your day by visiting SAXX.com. That's SAXX.com to upgrade your comfort today. Get that underwear. Change your life. SAXX.com.
My parents were like gone a lot when I was a kid because they both have like unconventional jobs. Like they both work at night. Like my mom owns a restaurant and my dad's a singer. So they were always basically home after I was asleep. And they kind of recently like were asking me that same question. Like, would you have rather? And in hindsight, like at the time I had good babysitters, so I didn't really care. It was just like all I knew.
What was it like it was babysitters, like different people, or it was like a nanny that was like one person that you like?
We would have like long times where we'd be with one person and then they would have to leave and something would happen, and then we'd get a new one. But
it wasn't like night 1 you call Susie, night 2 you call Rebecca.
It became that because we had one person, and then that person. I mean, we had like the same babysitters for so long that person would then like we would have them for all of their time in college and then they would graduate. But basically, like,
wait, when you say babysitter, do you mean like? So at night when your parents were working, that person came over, or were they taking care of you in the day? They
would take us to school. They'd pick us up from school.
Got it.
Yeah. So I also just became independent when I was super young, like able to cook dinner, whatever for me and my brother.
Way, like, and I don't look back on that as like dysfunctional. Or like, where are my parents?
No, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, my parents clearly like feel guilty about it now, kind of.
I mean, I can.
But I will say, I mean, I don't know how Shan Keegan might be pissed, but I'll say, like, to my parents, I'm glad that they, like, when they were in work mode, they were like 100% in work mode, and I'm glad that they were, because it means they're still doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think if they weren't, my dad wouldn't still be on tour, my mom wouldn't still have a restaurant, and now I get to like enjoy those things.
I think that's the thing, is when you get a little bit older, you can respect and appreciate that they are like killing it at work. I wonder, again, when I was young, I never even thought. I had like there are times I go through some of my life as a kid, and I'm like, that was fucking weird that I probably like could have felt away and just didn't. Like, we were 100%. When my grandfather was dying, my mom's dad died, got sick, and I think if my story's correct, I think he got like a timeline that was way longer, and he died very quickly. And my mom, I think because it was kind of like a shock, was like, I need to be there for my mom. Yeah. So we were living outside of Philadelphia at the time. So I was born in the Bronx. That was where my family was. My dad got a job in the suburbs of Philly. We moved there for a little bit. While we were there, pretty quickly, my like a couple years in, my grandfather dies. And my mom was like, I got to go live with my mom, my grandmother. And so she and I left Philly to live in the Bronx, back to the Bronx, and my dad and my brother stayed, and my sister was probably just born. So here we moved to the Bronx when my grandfather got sick. He died relatively quickly, shockingly so that we ended up moving back pretty quickly.
I see.
And then it was like, then we all moved as a family because it was like my grandmother needs help or whatever it was. So, but there was a period of time in like 5th and 6th grade, I went to one school and then came back to another and was bouncing back and forth to the point that one school called my dad one day and was like, you guys are like wanted almost, because they were like, your son has missed 100 straight days.
Truancy.
Truancy. Like, I guess we like didn't tell them we were leaving. So we like enrolled into school and then we were like, all right, we're moving, and we just bounced, and people were like, what the fuck? So I was doing this back and forth thing. And then when I was like in late middle school and high school, my mom went back to work. My dad was working, so I was kind of like latchkey kid, getting myself to and from practice. But I never once was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I miss my friends, or why aren't you around?
I think usually the people that do feel like that is because people around them kind of tell the kids like, oh, your parents. Because I went to therapy when I was like pretty young, just to like get anything out of the way, you know? Mm-hmm. And my therapist was like, oh, your parents are gone? Like, that's why. Like, if you're depressed, like, that's why. And was telling me I should basically be mad at my parents. Fired. My parents were quick to get her out of there. But,
yeah, I bet.
But I think it's a lot of the time it's like people telling the kids, oh, your parents were gone a lot. Like,
that's why the therapy like revolution is interesting to me. I think on the whole, it's a good thing. Because I think it's a good thing because it just shines a light on like mental health, and I think I think the good takeaway is that everyone should be focused on and concerned with their mental health. And I think there was generations of people, and specifically men, working who were just like, we don't do that. We don't talk about emotions. We don't talk about mental health. You go to work, you do your job, you get your money, you raise your kids, and you shut the fuck up, and that's it. So in that sense, mental health, therapy, all that, psychiatrists, is good because it just got people in that mode of thinking. I think where it gets dangerous is the therapists themselves in a lot of these spots. Like,
this one clearly sucked too. Like, this was not the norm.
A lot of them do sometimes.
I've had a few different ones, and they all, like, for me, like, talk therapy isn't for me. I like having a psychiatrist because they can, I don't know, for me it always feels more tangible, like medicine. and stuff.
I can understand that. I almost feel like people go the other way too, though. It's like I don't want medicine. I just want to do it.
I think therapy is good for people who don't have like a normal life where they talk about things. You know what I mean? Like for you, like you have a podcast, like you're good. Like
but if you're like
and I like talk to my friends,
and secluded and don't have interaction and don't have family or friends that can do that for you, it's a good thing. But you know, when going through divorce with my kids, they were so young. I was like, should they be in like proactive? Like everyone's happy and good at school. And there's no like warning signs, but like, should we be proactive about this?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people who believe yes, but there's a part of me that's like, I think we're making a problem.
Yeah. When I say mine was proactive, like I was pretty depressed. Like mine wasn't that. Mine was
like
pretty
you need
much
it, you need it.
active.
But we were like, we took Shay to like a thing. I guess just the therapist once, child psychiatrist, whatever it was, and. It was like a typical, she was a baby. She sat down, she was like drawing some pictures, and this doctor was just like, so tell me what you're doing, blah, 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 just to feel her out. I don't even think they spoke specifically about like mommy and daddy divorce or whatever. It was just like, get a feel for this child, And she came back and was like, your kid's totally normal. Like if not like excelling, So then I was like, well then, let's just, I get worried. I'm like, maybe there's gonna be problems down the line that we should have been addressing. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that like sometimes specific questions come up and I probably could do a better job of like really parenting and just explaining and talking. But I am always a little cautious of like, they're doing great in school. They have great friends. They're happy, I don't want to project my problems with divorce and co-parenting and the world onto them because they don't even probably feel the same way, And then all of a sudden you have a doctor saying, so are you upset that you don't live with both your parents? And they go,
yeah, like leading.
Oh, wait, yes,
leading questions is that's the issue.
And I'm sure a great doctor doing the right thing at the right time is probably always better than the alternative. But somebody who we all know, everybody mails it in at work one way or the other. And that's no different for doctors who are having a bad day or you're like their 50th client of the day. The amount of when I see that it's like 45-minute sessions and they're booked like every day, all day, I'm like, you're probably carrying over from other sessions and you have your preconceived notions and you catch a way, you're working with the pharmaceutical industry. They want you to push this medicine. So you do like, there's just a lot that I think can go wrong if you don't have a good or seasoned or,
especially for kids. Like it's a whole different ball. Their brains are so elastic. It's like one day they have a bad therapist and it's like, well, now 100%. I'm going to need to talk about this therapy session in therapy in 10 years.
Yep. And like, I think that especially coming from divorce, you just feel like it's going to be a problem and you have to fix it and address it. But then there are times I'm like, I know for a fact I'm like more present than some dads who are married still and in the, you know what I mean?
It seems like divorce isn't like the end all be all of like the worst thing that can happen to like
it's definitely not.
Not even close. I mean,
I was watching a clip from James Sexton, who's a divorce lawyer who's like doing in the content world now, and he said something the other day like really like resonated with me. He was like, divorce does not cause problems in kids. Conflict causes problems.
Yeah.
If you have a problem, if you and your ex-husband don't get along and you are open about it and do it in front of them and stuff, that's the problem. Is that divorce very often creates a scenario where those parents don't get along.
Yeah.
But it's inherently not the divorce. It's that it's the fighting and and they're not getting along, which would have happened if you don't get divorced. So
half my friends' parents are divorced, and like that's never their issue. Like you know what I mean? Like any of my friends
did they get divorced young?
One of my like close friends in college, her parents got divorced right before freshman year. And like she has, told me about things that, maybe as a child like bothered her or whatever. And it's never like, oh, like going to a different house every week. You know what I mean?
What's the problem?
No, that was never the problem. It was usually like, oh, they were fighting about this or money or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like it's never. So many people's parents are divorced. It's like,
what's interesting for me? I don't know if it's because they go to Catholic school or what. But there's very few, even in their school, and then like in my personal life. Like I have one other friend who's divorced and gone through something similar. At school, most of the families are together, or they were divorced and are remarried and have been remarried for so long that it just feels like that's the family. So
it feels like it could be a Catholic thing, maybe.
Yeah,
not
totally.
Like,
I mean, I went to a Jesuit school at Fordham, so I don't know if like a lot of my friends feel a way about divorce. Like none of them are like hardcore, but that sort of stuff just seeps into your brain, And then Catholic school for them. So when I look around, it's like 56% of people get divorced. I'm like, well, not in my world. Like, I'm like the only one, And so that's another thing where it's like, if you have a doctor who's like, divorce is like totally normal, but it's like, well, not in my world, or vice versa. Like divorce is the worst thing, and it's like all my kids' friends are divorced. Like it's not that big of a deal. So that's where I think the therapy can almost like create the problem or get them thinking negatively. Like you have to really remember, like I would feel so much guilt, and I still do to this day, if I am not there for like, forget about like the big events. I'm just like, they're doing their homework tonight, and I'm not there to help them. I'm not the one putting them to bed every night, like things like that, and that eats at me because I just know what I feel like my duty is and how I was raised and all that stuff. But it really like it's not eating at them. Like they're not even thinking about it.
Probably not, and it probably won't.
I FaceTime with them when I'm like upset or whatever, and they're just like, "Hey, what's up, Dad? How you doing?"
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh, they're totally fucking fine."
It's not going to bother them until someone
brings it up,
thinks it's bothering them and says something about it. Like like my parents were so much their own people when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, Daddy has like a concert tonight. Like this is sick. And like he's not there to put me to bed. And like to me, being put to bed wasn't a thing after I was like a young child. And that
you're
like,
just kind of an independent person. Yeah. And I wonder. My kids. The only thing that's tough with my kids is, and I don't even think it's my kids. I think it's like every kid. They just kind of like take things for granted in the sense of like I really try to go above and beyond and like make it to everything. I'm at every practice. I'll pick them up. I'll drive them. But that becomes like the standard for them. They got used to that because I've done it for so long. And I like that. I want my kids to be like, yes, my dad is here for me and does all these things with me, and he's never not around and all that shit. But then that becomes the standard. So if I miss something, it's like, or, hey, I'm coming to your game, but I got to leave early. And it's like, oh, what the fuck, Dad? It's like, I'm already moving mountains to make all this work. Yeah,
and that was not the case for me and my brother. Like, we never expected it, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's something I'll have to deal with, like, with specifically my kids.
But I think that's more the norm. All my friends' parents would be at everything, and mine wouldn't. And there would be times where I'd be like, oh, like, your parents are coming to this? But then there would be other times where their parents wouldn't let them like go to a sleepover or whatever. And I'm like, oh, my parents are chill.
Cool with that. Yeah,
and it's not because my parents weren't paying attention. They were. It's just like, I don't know, my parents had priorities that weren't just us. And I liked that. I mean, I think like I was not raised very like strict. We didn't really do a lot of punishments. I can count on one hand the amount of times I was like truly grounded. Disciplinarian sort of shit was like, I don't know. I think we just kind of ended up being like good kids, and it worked out. So that was kind of my like blueprint for parenting. But as much as things worked out, it was like, I don't know. I ended up getting divorced because I was like in a marriage that I like didn't know how to handle properly, and like some other issues in my life sometimes that I'm like, well, maybe this happened because of the way I was raised, and maybe I should do things differently with my kids. And I don't know. I guess you just never really know until things come to fruition. It's like, oh, it went well or it didn't go well. I should have done things differently, or I did things right. It's all, you just don't really know. I mean, the only thing I knew for sure was like, my kids were so young when we went through our problems that I was like, we should split now and let them just be, this is like their whole life. They've never known anything other than that. I feel like if we tried to make it work and kind of wedge things together, and then you wait, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, and instead of doing it when they were 2, you're doing it when they're 12, and then it's a problem. Not good.
Then that to me was like, that's when your kids will be fucked up from divorce, or could be fucked up from divorce. So Phoenix is the first drink that combines everything you need into one can, and when I say everything, I mean it. First of all, you got the good flavors. First and foremost, it's got to be something you actually like to drink, right? Right now, I have the orange. They have a slew of other flavors. Everybody seems to love all of them. Then what else do I mean? First of all, it's only got 10 calories, right? No sugars, only 3 grams of carbs. It's the energy drink that is not going to get you fat and not going to be bad for you. Now, what else? 8 essential vitamins for health and immunity. some with 100% of your daily value, some with 250% of your daily value, vitamin D, calcium, vitamin B12, vitamin C, magnesium, all the good stuff in a drink with great flavors and the energy to get you through the day. No crash, no jitters, none of that. Right now it's 1:30 as I drink this. I'm about to hit that lull in the afternoon. I had a late night and early morning. I got to keep going. I got to work this evening, so I need a little pick-me-up. The Phoenix. The orange is really good. This is my first orange. That almost tastes like just straight like natural orange juice. And like I said, it's everything you need all in one can with zero sugar. It's built for people like me who's got to keep going. Built for people like you who's got all the responsibilities and don't want to stop. And you need that extra boost. So right now, go to drinkphx.com. Use promo code Barstool5 for $5 off your order. I recommend getting the Phoenix Orange, but get them delivered right to you. And $5 off your order by going to drinkphx.com and using promo code Barstool5. Yeah, I mean, it's all, like, I all together at the same time sympathize with Ayesha Curry, and also I'm kind of like, bitch, please. Like, and it's always easy to just say that about people who have money and status. And
I know, I feel kind of bad.
Like, but there is some truth to it. Or at the very least, you have to look at your own behavior and say, all right, these people are taking things out of context or projecting or are just flat out wrong, whatever. But I'm clearly talking about this often enough.
Yeah.
And on certain platforms where it's feeding this narrative. It's giving them ammo. So it's not necessarily your fault, but you have to take responsibility for, like, this has all now become a thing where people say that my husband is being disrespected by me. You should probably change course. Or you need, or maybe there's some real shit there and you're like, yeah, I'm fucking doing it on purpose because we're not happy or whatever. But you can't just be like, why is this happening? It's like, it's happening for a reason, whether it's fair or not. This is the world we live in, and you got to act accordingly.
Do you think you should get divorced if you're paying your husband $600,000 not do cocaine?
So, yeah, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban got divorced after 19 years. And part of their prenup was what they're calling the cocaine clause for Keith Urban. Every year that they were together, still married, and he remained sober, he would get $600,000 a year in the event of their split. So 19 years together, that's an $11.4 million payday for the boy Keith Urban for, putting in almost 2 decades of work with Nicole and putting in 2 decades of work staying clean. I don't know if it was specifically like cocaine, what drug or substance was like his issue. He's always been pretty open about it. I don't know if it was actually cocaine, but I'll tell you this much. The cocaine clause, that's bars. That should be like the name of an album. That should be like Pusha T's next album, the Cocaine Clause. Or it's like the Santa Claus, but for fucking drug dealers. Like there's Cocaine Clause is fire. That is so interesting to me because it really, for me, crystallized how much sometimes celebrity marriages are like a fucking business. Not to say that they're not in love and there's not romance, but when there's that much money and careers of both people being stars on the line, where you can't treat your marriage just like a happy, emotional thing that like is a blessing in your life, and it's like, okay, it is all that, but now we have to go to work and do business and not just have a prenup, but have like a detailed prenup about each other's like shortcomings or problems. Like, in one way, I think it's like the least romantic thing of all time, because you're just like turning your life and your problems and your relationship into like a business piece of paper. And then on the other side, I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of romantic that it was like, I want to be with you and I want you to be healthy, and like, let's incentivize you. Let's make that a part of our like agreement here. It's not out of sight, out. I think so often with those situations, substance abuse, addiction, just like hidden stuff that is kind of a negative in your relationship. Like people don't ask, don't tell, and they keep it out of sight, out of mind, and they know what's going on, but they don't want to like rock the boat. This is like the other extreme of that, where it's like, we know what's happening. Let's fucking put it on paper. Let's put it all on the line. Here's how you have to act. It's interesting. It's not the most like romantic thing, but it's smart. I mean, prenups in general. I think prenups, I've said this before, prenups should be absolutely standard. The same way that you got to like go to a courthouse and sign the paperwork. Another piece of paperwork should also be So you sign the paperwork for the courthouse. You have to declare your taxes together. You have to be on both on like the deed for your house. All of these things that are paperwork and legally binding and yada yada yada. But this other one piece of paper that like is in event of emergency, we frown upon, is shunned. We think is like classless and trashy, and it's like, why not just know that in the event something goes wrong, we're good? If anything, that should give you more peace of mind, and whether you're rich or poor, have a job, don't have a job, whatever, like just put it in writing, because everything else is in writing. If you're going to involve the government in your relationship, you might as well protect yourself against them and have some clauses against it. So I think they should be absolutely standard. Where it gets interesting is clauses like this, like you have to behave a certain way, look a certain way. Obviously, something like don't do drugs, that's a positive. But, there are people who like you have to maintain a certain appearance, or you have to have sex in this way or that way. And like things, you could get really nitty gritty details on prenups that are a little bit much, where it's like, okay, now you're just like molding this person and like legally demanding they behave in a certain way.
The craziest part about the Nicole Kidman one to me is the fact that instead of she's paying him $600,000 for every year, don't you think it would be he would have to give her $600,000 if he did the coke? Like, it's weird to me that she's paying, not that he's giving it up. It's like her lawyer
that is a classic example of like the positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement. It's like, what works better with people? Incentivizing them, because what's
$600,000 to him
them
also
for not doing something. Like, to me, I think that can kind of go both ways. I think that's a personal thing. Like, there are people who respond to positivity, and there are people with praise kinks. You got a little praise kink, you want to get paid, you want a little good girl, good boy, pat on the back for doing something. And then there are people who are like, you're never going to do XYZ unless I threaten you or scare you.
Imagine he just has a praise kink, and that's the whole thing. He doesn't even do cocaine. He
just wants the...
Heath Urban has an insane
but
that's
all
what
of that,
he should say.
like, so I do think that is like a personal preference, if you will, or a case-by-case basis. I think when you talk about like alcoholism, drug addiction, substance abuse, like, I don't know. I think that I would like to think, and I would venture to guess, that Keith Urban stayed sober and married to her because he like wanted to be healthy and clean and happy. I hope. I think that Keith Urban is a superstar in his own right, very wealthy in his own right. $11.5 million is $600,000 a year. So, like, $11.5 million, nice chunk of money. It still probably isn't that much to Keith Urban, but if you get it up front, like, bam, that's a chunk of cash that anybody can use. Or like $600K a year, like, when you think about it in that terms for that guy, that already is not that much. I think that's hard for like regular people to wrap their head around. When you're talking about Nicole Kidman wealth, she was probably like $600,000 a year. Like, yeah, whatever. And Keith Urban was probably like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But like, I don't really care one way or the other. I'm going to stay sober because I want to stay sober. So
I don't know. I feel like it had to be an issue if they're writing it in.
Yes, but like, I'm saying, but I don't think that money influenced. I don't think the money changed anything one way or the other. I think it was like, because my point being that if you're like truly addicted, I think that could have been like $60 million a year. And in the moment, there's drugs on the table, or you're having a moment of weakness, like you're just like, fuck it, I just won't take that money.
He's not a real coke guy.
That's where I wonder if it was the other way, if I had to give you money and you're looking at your own wallet. Like, to me, that's almost like, hey, you get this lottery ticket if you don't do drugs. It's very different than if you do those drugs, you have to pay me money, you know? Because people could be like, all right, I just don't want the lottery ticket, versus that, you got $600,000 out of your pocket. Again, but I don't think that sum of money for either of those people is enough to really influence their behaviors one way or the other. I think that was probably an added little thing at the end. But it was like, why? I don't think Keith Urban every night was like, oh my God, I want to do drugs. I can't wait to do drugs. I'm going to get this divorce so I can go do drugs to get out of this clause. I'm going to get my money and run. I think that's not enough for him to really alter his behavior one way or the other. Maybe it is, but I could imagine that being way more of like, there's an extra little formality, but if you really want to stay sober or beat addiction, I don't think those sort of motivators work, because at the end of the day, it has to be like, you can have somebody watch you control your money, never let you out of the house, and you can be sober because of that. But like the minute you're given your freedom, if you run back to it, so that's sort of the same thing as like that $600,000 maybe motivates you, but is it going to motivate you every day for like years on end? I think that has to come from like an internal place. Now there might be this extra bonus of money, but I don't know how much that really is the reason why he was sober for the last 19 years, you know? And I don't think it's the reason why they're breaking up. But
you can buy a lot of coke with $600,000 too.
You can buy a lot of coke.
You can buy a lot
imagine
of
that.
Imagine
if it was just that was the only thing keeping Keith Urban on the tracks, and now he's just like, I'm having an $11.5 million coke party. Let's go.
We say this about addiction. Like, I don't know. I think if I was addicted to someone offered me $600 not to do it, I'd be like, give me the fucking money.
Yeah, you say that, and I think most people would agree with that. And in a lot of spots like that,
no, that's fucked up.
Is
I know
enough
that's
money
not true.
to make a difference. Especially for an average person. But I think depending on how deep you're in, like in the throes of addiction, I don't think there's anything. I mean, because think about it, there are people who like lose their kids and their family.
I was gonna say, like, jokes aside, it seems like money and addiction are like losing money and like I don't know. It seems like they're so intertwined. It doesn't.
And having money, having money to fuel your addiction. Living a lifestyle that affords you that money is also usually tied into performing late nights, early mornings, travel, all that sort of stuff. So, it all is tied together. But again, I think, when you see someone who's at like rock bottom and still using, you can tell that it's not about a prize, a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for behaving one way or the other. It's like it just completely consumes you. It's a disease that completely consumes you, and everybody kind of goes through their own version of it. Like there's different types of addiction and different types of struggles, but if there are people who are willing to like, I lost my career, I lost my family, I've lost my home, I'm losing my teeth, I'm like literally dying, and I'm still doing this. I don't know if $600,000, can change that. Maybe. Would be nice to try if everyone could, if there was a financial incentive for everyone to get off drugs, maybe it would help things. But I think these are often things too that regular people just can't wrap their minds around. Some of the money, when it comes to prenups, contracts, NDAs, salaries, child support numbers, some of the finances and some of the differences in behavior of poor and rich or famous and not famous and all that. It makes it almost impossible to like really have an opinion or a discussion about it, because you just can't get it. You can't even understand that to someone. Like $600,000 for Nicole Kidman is nothing.
I can't fathom it.
What?
Honestly. So
it's like, save your opinions, because you have not walked a mile in these people's shoes. But yeah, it's that one. She was married to Tom Cruise. Now married to Keith Urban. I wonder, like J-Lo's done it like 5 times.
Yeah.
I wonder at what point do you kind of pull the plug. Do they have kids together, Nicole Kidman?
I was trying to ask that. Sure. You do wonder, like, if they have this cocaine clause, like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? Like, if you're, like, doing these lengths to, like, stay, like, why do you think they got divorced? Does anyone even know that?
I don't know. I don't think that those necessarily correlate. I think that's like when we got married, I was like a raging party man, and like so we needed to keep some safeguards in place. And then hopefully you hope that like he stayed sober and they had some good years, and then you have some bad years where you grow apart. And I don't think necessarily I think all the talk is about this cocaine clause. As far as I know, I don't think it was like he violated that, and that's the problem.
Oh yeah, she has 2 daughters, and I saw this because she had her she had her like revenge fit with them. They did these like photos where they all looked like savage or whatever.
Jackpocket is America's #1 lottery app. Jackpocket. It's the only app that has state-sponsored lottery games right on your phone. The big boys, the Mega Millions, the Powerballs. If you're in a select 6 different states, you can do the scratch-offs. All of them have your local state lotteries. Win cash for life, $1,000 a week for life, cash 5, pick 4, take 3. Any number, any combination, all those games are all available right on your phone. I got to get my, where's my phone? I got to get my Mega Millions ticket, because I think Mega Millions is hitting like $500 million. Where's my phone? There it is. So let me see. Let me just hop on the app. I'm going to show you how easy it is. If you're watching along, you see me. If not, I'm opening up Jackpocket right now. Let me see what Mega Millions is at. I drive by the billboard on the West Side Highway every day, and it tells me where we're at. So Mega Millions is a cool $575 million. So I'm going to click order. I'm going to do the $5, and I slide to order. That's it. It's done, dude. Now I'm in the running for $575 million this Friday. You might never hear from me again because I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to ride off into the sunset. You could do the same thing. Download Jackpocket today. Use promo code KFC2. And you can get $5 in lottery credits when you download the app and opt in. So download Jackpocket, opt in, use promo code KFC2 at checkout, and get $5 in lottery credits. So my $575 million purchase would have been for free if I used promo code KFC2 for new customers. So once again, if you're new to Jackpocket, download it, opt in, promo code KFC2, $5 in lottery credits. Could the next big win be you? Only one way to find out. Order your tickets today, Jackpocket. So, I mean, then the kids make a difference, too. It's like, it's all a kid divorce versus a non-kid divorce are entirely different. Your kids are... Oh, speaking of kids, Robin Williams' daughter posted on Instagram saying,
sad.
Stop sending me AI videos of my dad. He would not want it. I don't want it. And stop saying that AI is just like the future and it's a tool. It's like, the end of society as we know it. I can see a world where I think... as long as it was, like, respectful. I don't know exactly what the videos of Robin Williams were. Like, if my dad was dead and people were sending me AI videos that looked, like, hyper real of him doing, like, some foul shit, I wouldn't like that. I think I would actually like if it was, like, kind of funny or, like, silly.
What?
Yeah, I don't think I'd have a problem with that. I think, like, if it was done... I actually don't understand why anybody has a problem with that, but if it was just, like, here's a...
Because it clouds the real memories you have with them. That's why I would think.
If you are like, now I can't discern between the real dad
I would
and my
be
fake
so
dad.
Disturbed if my dad died and someone, oh my God, I would be disturbed.
I mean, if your dad's famous, like that's, I don't know. I think that's almost, it's just like the same thing in line with like tabloids talking shit and like people being invasive. Like that to me is the issue, not like the latest way that they are violating, like fame and being in the public eye is a violation just off the rip, but yeah, I would have no problem with like, look at this funny, like there's a bunch Sora 2 just came out and the videos you can make now are just like so far advanced. And like, I've been watching MLK being a WWF wrestler. It's amazing.
Have you seen the Logan Paul or the Jake Paul doing his makeup ones?
I saw like there was a Jake Paul video, and I didn't watch or hear what it was.
I don't know why. It's like a niche like AI video right now. Is it Jake or Logan? It's Jake. Where he like does his makeup and then he like comes out in like he'll be like 1, 2, 3, I'm gay, and it's like, and it's the realest. I was got by one of them.
Yeah, they're getting to the point like silly ones like MLK being a wrestler is like fake for obvious reasons. I watched one. George Washington hit a home run for the Mets to beat the Yankees in the World Series. I get a kick out of those. I don't think those are the end of the world as we know it.
Those aren't. Yeah.
I think when you start to use, people's likeness and they are saying and doing things that like could be true, that's where things get dicey. That I have a bigger problem with than like you're disrespecting the dead by like making, I'm not sure. Again, I don't know what video she's talking about, but if there was like a clip of like Robin Williams doing stand-up that wasn't real, I would not go out of my way to send it to someone. I think that's crazy being like, check out this video of your dad. If somebody did do it to me, that wouldn't really affect me. If it was like, look at your dad fucking, like killing someone or like doing something immoral, I'd be like, that's fucked up. I don't think any of it would really like weigh on me tremendously, but the AI is just getting too good in that sense. Like, I really don't know how we go forward with this.
It's so
in my
scary.
world of like doing content, like even just little things. Like I saw a video. It was just like a funny like dog and cat video. It was like this dog did something silly. The cat was like jumping around the room. Things that are like entirely possible. When you see something that's like defying the laws of physics, you're like, okay, that's a fucking AI video. But when it's just like, here's a cute pet video. Like, I don't even know why someone made that. Just go find a real cute pet video. They're all over the place. But when it's reaching a point where it's really pretty indiscernible, like undistinguishable, like you can always catch like a extra pinky. Their mouth always seems to move weird. There's like a smoothness to it that looks a little weird, where if you really have an eye for it or you're like like if I wasn't working in this industry, I think I'd just be like, I don't know, is that real or fake? I don't really care. It entertained me for 2 seconds. But I'm like, if I'm going to post about it or discuss it, I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't want to put out things that are fake, all that. So like, I don't know how much that is a real problem for just like the regular people of the world. But in terms of like reporting on things, discussing things, viral videos, spreading stuff, it's almost getting weird where it's like, what's even the point of making an AI video that is very believable and realistic? Because then it's just like, now you're just making like a pretty plain video. Like it's one thing where...
I mean, I think it's solely so that person can make money from the video going by. Like I think it's like completely self-serving whoever makes it. Yeah.
And I mean, but I just don't think you can really make money off of like one viral video. You know, like if you make a fake Jake Paul video and you get a bunch of views, what does that do for you?
I think those accounts, like people get paid on TikTok for views and stuff. And it's like, if your account is just like videos that people find funny and they're all AI, it's like you can make way more money on the TikTok than I think people think, from less views than people think.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it always comes back to business and money. I just wonder, like, you know, there's for sure a world where if you are like a master of AI and you have dozens of accounts and you're, you know, making these videos and collecting the views and going viral, like, yeah, for sure. But I just wonder, I'm just like, I think it's more people just being like weird. Like there's a new tool that I like that world, and I'm going to make like a wacky version of something. Like there's one I saw when the Mets were trying to make the playoffs. Juan Soto struck out, and that part of the video is real. And then he breaks down and starts crying and like throws his bat. And it's like, that's clearly not real. That did not happen. But it's funny to like imagine. I'm like, this is what it would look like if Juan Soto like cried on the field. But when it's just like, if you were to make a video that's like Juan Soto struck out and like threw his helmet like a little bit angry, something that could very well happen in real life, and also if it did is not that big of a deal, I'm like, why even?
Yeah.
Like Steve Irwin jumping off the top rope, dropping an elbow on a stingray. We know that's not real. I think that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like contributing to the downfall of America.
No, I think those are funny, but I don't think those are funny enough to outweigh like the bad things.
Yeah.
And I know you don't really like, I don't really think you're a proponent that there are like, you don't really talk about the bad things.
I think this happens with every single technology ever.
I know, but
and this one is like a little heightened, but like when people are like, you know, society is never going to be able to get through this. Like they said it about the television. They say it about the internet in general. Like, the world just keeps on spinning, and you have a new wrinkle of like. Now it's going to get weird where, in terms of like, proof of things, or you know, like
that's why it's bad.
Yeah, totally. I just like when that stuff starts, that's a problem. I think, and right now I know a lot of people are saying like it's a slippery slope, and that's what they're worried about. I just don't think that what is currently out there right now is that like heinous. I think it's when you make a video, it's like, look at this guy like stumbling around drunk and he got in his car and drove away drunk. That's something that like is not so crazy that you would doubt it on video. You know what I mean? It's like, look at this guy pull out a gun and shoot someone. It's like, well, look around the news. There's no murder. There's no charge. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
But if it was like, look at KFC, he stumbled out of the bar in Columbus the other night and was drunk driving and like swerved and almost hit someone. So there's no record, there's no arrest, there's nothing to prove or disprove it, and it just looks like you did something that's really fucked up. That is going to get ugly and dicey.
I feel like it's like just
and then the flip side of being like, you do some fucked up shit.
And then saying it's
AI. So, you know.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a heightened version of the thing that I keep thinking about, like even that Juan Soto video, is like people scroll through and look at something for 2 seconds, and then even if they don't really think about it, it like, and it doesn't like actively register to them, it's like, oh, you see that video, a week later you're like, oh, like to someone who doesn't know who Juan Soto is or like baseball or whatever, and is like, yeah, that dude's like does whack, like he did this shit, and then that person says it.
But
it's
that's
just
the
like
same thing with like
I know, but it's just
fake
worse.
Tweets.
It's way worse to say, oh, I saw a headline it's way worse to say, oh, I saw him do it than I saw a headline.
I guess so. I don't know. It's like we've seen the damage that like social media and headlines have done.
And it's pretty bad.
And the world just keeps going.
I know, but the world's going to keep going no matter how bad shit gets.
That's what I mean, though. It's like,
I know, but that's not good.
It's not, I think that everything that is ever developed, created, invented, pivots and changes in society, People are like used to the world one way and are convinced it's going to like end the world as we know it. And you know, we've been doing it with like Photoshops and then deep fakes and, you know, and now it's I understand that by getting like perfected, it only gets worse, but I don't think it's the end of art. I don't think it's the end of music. I don't think it's the end of all that shit.
I'm not sitting here saying it's the end of the world. I just feel like social media like was bad for people. And like I think it was bad for people. Like it did harm. And I think
everything's done harm.
No, I know. That's all I'm saying. I don't think AI is just like, I think there are some people who think it's like just, you know, the best thing ever in a tool, which is what people also say about social media, which is like not true.
I don't think people talk about the good of AI. I think you only hear about the bad of AI. And I think that like technological advances make opportunities for people that like, you know, could have never existed.
Yeah. I think I feel differently about it also because I was in college for the last 2 years of it, and seeing like what it did to people in college was like kind of disturbing. Like,
what did it do?
People losing like any ability to like figure stuff out, think for themselves. And I know that's like such like a nerd, whatever. But like,
but I also think that, you know, people said about calculators and fucking GPS.
No,
I don't know how to get around anywhere. I just put it in GPS.
I know, but it's different.
And there's part of me that's like, I wish I knew, had a good sense of direction and like knew where I was going. But also, I don't know. I just don't anymore, and I put it in the GPS.
I know, but AI is like unique in that it gives people like opinions, like it tells people what to think. And I know everything's like done that before, but in college it was like fucking weird. And I think that's the difference between anyone who wasn't in college for it and people who were in college during it are the ones saying like, oh, this is kind of like weird.
Because you weren't like doing your own work.
I mean,
like using AI for school, or just like being a molding age where there's fake shit out there.
That like using it for work, but then that like trickling into like people's opinions about like just people would be like, oh, help me write this paper about blah 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 blah, which is that's like, all right, maybe you didn't need to write that paper. I think there's value in writing papers, but that's besides the point. It's like you have it do that. Oh, and then you ask it like, what do you think about it? And then people take what it says and like then it's their opinion, and they go around like using it as their opinion, and it's not right all that often.
No, and that's what I also think is so funny. It's like when people are like, this is gonna, you know, the overlord is gonna like, you know, end the human race as we know it, and it's like I ask it basic questions and it gets it wrong all the time. So
I know. I think it's gonna fit.
I don't think it's where people think where it's at.
I know, but people are so dumb. They're like, oh, that's correct. That has to be correct.
That's
said it.
the problem. Like.
But
that
people
has
are stupid.
Been the case
people
forever.
Have always been stupid.
I'm sure people said that about every type of technological advancement that like minimized things and brought it into your world, in your home, in front of your eyes. It's like, yeah, you do have to. It's all just harder and more of it, but you do have to like be able to discern for yourself at some point. And I don't know. I guess I just think about like for every like job that it maybe eliminates, it just opens up doors and, you know, creates advancements in like science and technology that are, you know, a good thing. But I think it's just easier for a regular person to see the negative right now, where it's just like, that's a fake video, that's fucked up, that's like, you know, slandering someone. Whereas it's like, well, I don't know, these chips and these advancements are working wonders for the environment and the future and energy sources and like all this shit that it's like I have no fucking idea. But I think AI has a PR problem.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, they don't do a good job of like the people who are like the Peter Thiels of the world, Sam Altmans of the world, make it seem like, yep, we're just trying to like implant that in your brain and control you. And maybe they are, and they're super villains, and that's why it has bad PR. But you almost need somebody to be like.
I mean, I think there's also like
presenting it in a less scary way.
I think there's also like an inherent like like the uncanny valley thing. Like there's a psychological reason people don't like it. Like our brains are literally wired to not like something like that. And I'm kind of like, if like biologically we shouldn't like this, maybe that's good. Like maybe we should be a little bit scared and wary of it.
I do think that there's going to be like biologically, mentally, emotionally for like people who lived through it. You will probably never be at peace with it because it's just like so foreign and weird to us. And I feel like once you grow up with it, for better or worse, it'll be like embedded in your life. But I don't think it'll be. I wonder if that uncanny valley thing starts to go away because it's just like they're used to it. You know what I mean? They've seen every variation of it. They know what's real, what's not real, or what makes them uncomfortable, what doesn't. Whereas it's such a before and after. Like, we lived without this thing, and now we live with it, and we can feel and know the differences. Whereas
I know, but don't you think we probably should? Just as humans, we probably should feel that. We should feel weirded out by like something that's trying to be like human. I don't know. I took a whole class about it like 2 years ago because I was a psychology major, and I took a class called cyber psychology, and it was like all about AI. And we learned about like all the things, the bad things, which is kind of why I'm like freaked out by it. And even 2 years ago, it was so much less advanced. And we would talk about in class being like, oh, in 10 years, it's going to be able to do this. And that was 2 years ago. And now it's doing the things that we were taught it would be able to do in 10 years. And it's already doing them.
2 years. So it's like, I mean, it's going to, the exponential like progress of it's going to be crazy. I think that the uncanny valley thing, I feel like is probably, I guess there's just like an inherent feeling of like that thing is trying to trick you, or it's foreign and we don't know what it is. It's like a defense mechanism, like in our brains. Yeah. So it's just like I don't know what that is, and so there's a chance it could cause me harm, so I don't like it. But I wonder if, if you just grow up with like robots, your fucking life is like the Jetsons, like maybe you wouldn't feel that way. But someone who lived without them and then lives with them are like, fuck that thing. Whereas the next guy might just be like, yeah, we have like a robot butler. What are you guys talking about? No big deal. But
I know. I just feel like there's a difference between like a robot. Like, robots don't freak people out, like WALL-E or fucking C-3PO.
Well, when I say robot, I just mean like, yeah, if you had like an assistant, a maid, a nanny or whatever that was like a humanoid type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is like the premise of every like, sci-fi movie where the end of the world comes. But I also think that that's probably Hollywood and crazy and like the extreme version of it. And the more reasonable reality is like we are implementing these crazy advancements and these weird things, and you just...
Have you seen Friend?
Do it.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Giving like free ad right now to something I fucking hate. And it's the biggest Subway campaign like ever. Everyone's talking about it. It's a Subway ad that just says Friend, and it's just like whatever white billboard thing, and then it's just a necklace, and it's basically an AI friend. And the advertising for when you go to the website, it's like friend.com, and it's like a girl at a museum walking around, and it's like says words that it would be saying, and it's like, oh, they're in a museum, and it's like, oh, we need to get home soon to watch Love Island, and it's like advertising, and it's like, oh, this thing will watch TV with you, this will do this with you, and it's just like, what? Like, every movie, guys, like I feel like we're in a horror movie and everyone's watching, like, yeah, isn't that crazy? And it's like,
I think so, but I just think it's more likely that like that becomes the norm. I think eventually you probably reach a point where like, we peak out, like we hit like a can't go any further. But I don't know. I just think it's more likely that the extreme like robots take over humans and we are now enslaved to computers is probably the extreme.
Yeah.
And the other extreme is like get rid of all this and let's just like go back to simpler times where wouldn't it be great if we all just like lived out in the fucking sun and didn't have computers and wrote books and talked blah blah blah. And it's probably somewhere in the middle where it's just like there's going to be weird, futuristic life shit that some of it's good, some of it's bad, and everything keeps going. I think as is with anything in life, the ultimate extremes are probably unlikely and not.
I just wonder if we're moving the extreme post, because I feel like 20 years ago, the extreme would have been your only friend is a computer. And now that's not the extreme anymore. And that's like, oh, that should probably be extreme.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand the negative. There's actually parts of it that I really don't like myself either, as much as I do think it's good and can be used for good. I totally understand the negative sides of it and definitely think there's parts of it that like I don't think is good for me, my kids and all that. But the bigger point is like it's just not going to change. So figuring out how to coexist with it or like live without freaking out about it is probably a better use of time or better way to move forward than to just be like, I mean, what are you going to do? You're just going to like protest against it until you're fucking dead. Anyway, I'll probably be replaced with an AI host at some point anyway. So there's that podcasting company that has like 5,000 fake AI podcasts. I don't know. Go listen to one of them if you don't agree with me. We'll see you guys next week. Feitelberg will be back. Jackie will be back. We'll get the whole gang in town. But thanks for kicking it for me this week solo. All right. Big thanks for watching. If you made it through this whole episode, that means you should be subscribed. There's so many of you out there who watch and don't subscribe. So make sure you are a KFC Radio subscriber. Make sure you get all the content when it drops. Click that button now.
I have 9 fingers. I'm still subscribed. It's that easy.